Hello, everybody. I'm Chris, Coach B. Biffle, and right now you're watching a big group of motivated teachers who are going to learn about some of the basics of whole brain teaching. The number one thing that we need, I think, on day one, morning one is how do we motivate kids? Dawn, you've had some experience with Starries. You believe it's pretty good, but we're going to make it a lot better. Dawn, tell your friends about how excited you are to find out more about Starries, which you've loved, and now you may not be able to eat or sleep after you see these improvements. Talk about it, girl.
Thanks, Coach. I do love Starries. I play it every day in my classroom. We do tons of dice rolls. It's connected to Super Improver, and you have even more new ideas for us to use with it. So I can't wait to learn them today.
All right, here we go, everybody. If you haven't already, please go to Teachers Pay Teachers and download Whole Brain Teaching Self-Training. These are free Google Slides. I'd like to see this. Whenever I say free, I got to see this, okay? Why don't we charge? I'll tell you why we don't charge. We're helping kids, okay? You're driving along the road, you see a wreck, you get out and you say, where's your credit card? You got a credit card, I'll help you out. We have to help kids, and it's crazy to charge anything for it. Here we go. So, Dawn, stay with me a second. Whole brain teaching is used in over 100 countries. And here's the big kind of opening picture that's brand new for whole brain teaching. We want to start with Starries, and we're going to tell kids we're playing a game all year that's called Alpha Hawk, and Starries is level 1. See, Starries is down here. It's level 1 on the Super Improver, and we haven't unlocked Super Improver yet. So explain this new edition of putting Starries at the bottom of our incredibly popular game, Super Improver, which is trademarked at the U.S. Patent Office. Talk about it, Dawn.
All right, thank you, Coach. So we are going to tell our students we're going to play a game all year called Alpha Hawk, and it starts by playing Starries. Once we have 100 Starries, we will unlock Super Improver, and a new addition is to actually add Starries to the bottom of our Super Improver level and show that we need 100 to unlock the next game.
It's all one stinking game. We started Starries and we're climbing up all the way to Alpha Hawk. Now, Madison, our question is, how do we motivate kids to play Alpha Hawk? And the answer is we're starting at level 1 Starries. Madison, listen to your coach. Let's just start so simple. You have a 10 frame, and I'll show you where to get them on Amazon. And when you see improvement, Madison, in rule 1 or anything else, you put a star up there. That's it, Madison. That's the beginner level. Madison, talk about the beginner level, because we're going much further, girl. Go.
Thank you, Coach. So at the beginning level of Starries, you have a 10 frame. There can be up to 100. And you're looking for improvements in, you could start in rule number 1. So anytime you see improvements in rule number 1, you could put a starry up on your starry board.
Everybody huddle up, hands and eyes. Listen to your coach. Day 1, Wendy. Morning 1, Ruth. Melissa, day 1, morning 1, you say, we're going to play Alpha Hawk. And the first thing you have to know when you play in a video game is, what are the rules? Ruth, the number 1 rule of Alpha Hawk is you got to follow directions quickly. Ruth, tell us how excited you are by that simple number 1 rule. Ruth, if you could get kids to follow directions quickly, you're almost in teaching heaven right there. Talk about it, girl.
Thank you, Coach. Yeah, if I can get kids to follow rule 1, follow directions quickly, day 1, teacher heaven.
Pam, unmute. I know this is completely new to you, even though you're gold certified, but let me tell you how to get kids to follow directions quickly. This is going to be so crazy, everybody. You're going to say to the kids, all right, rule 1, follow directions quickly. Stand up. Oh, not bad. Sit down. Oh, pretty good. Raise one hand. Put it down. Fold your hands. You give them some directions, Pam. That's what you do. And when you see them following directions quickly, it's time to add a starry to level 1. Pam, talk about how simple it is. Day 1, morning 1, we're learning the rules of how to play Alpha Hawk. Go, girl.
Thank you, Coach. So stinking simple, Coach, that it's just day 1, step 1, teach rule 1. Give them a bunch of directions to get them following directions quickly.
All right. Now, this is the beginner level, and you can make it out of paper. We're going to show you where you can buy a fancy version on Amazon, but it's just a 10-frame grid. You put up stars, and I would say this is going to get you through about 30 to 40 days, okay? All right. Pam, stay with your coach. Pam, you see that? That's emo. Pam, emo is not good news. Dawn, this is a big change. Pam, listen to me. I know it's going to shock all of you. You're not going to believe this, but sometimes on day 1, morning 1, you've got some kids who are not following directions quickly. They may not be following directions at all, for goodness gracious. Pam, explain the harsh reality of teaching in the world today. Go ahead.
All right, thank you, Coach. The harsh reality is on day 1, you may have some kids that aren't listening.
Now, listen to me. Everybody, hands and eyes, huddle up. You've got a kid who isn't listening. You've got a kid who's looking around. You've got a kid who's playing with their shoelaces. Don't freak out. It's normal. They're kids. Kids look around. Kids play with their shoelaces. Come on, people. They're kids. But what are you going to do about it? Wendy, listen to me. Wendy, what you don't do on day 1 or ever, you don't scold. Wendy, when you scold, you break the connection with a kid and you've made your problem worse. Wendy, talk to your sisters about no more scolding in our classroom. Talk about it, Wendy. Oh, unmute, girl.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah.
On day 1, we do not scold. Scolding ruins your relationship with your student.
That's exactly right. You want to scold. You feel like, what are they doing that they're not following my directions? Do not scold them, because you'll make your teaching situation worse. All right, what do? Dawn, unmute. I'm going to tell you what you do, Dawn. You do not point out the kids who are not following directions quickly. You wait until recess. And at recess, you've given them a couple stars. You drop an emo in there. And the emo is the slow turtle. Emo does everything wrong. If you want kids to follow directions quickly, he follows them slowly. If you want kids to write neatly, he writes messy. If you want kids to raise their hand for permission to speak, emo just shares about his new puppy. When you put an emo in there, that's something we've never had, Dawn, but it indicates we got a problem here, people. We got to fix it. Talk, Dawn, about how thrilled you are by emo. Go ahead.
All right, thank you, Coach. Yeah, in Starries, there's never been any way to kind of redirect unwanted behaviors. And now we can pop emo up. So when the students are out of the room, maybe they went to a special or recess, and we're kind of reflecting. We're like, ooh, that didn't go quite how I wanted it to. You can pop up that little emo as a reminder that we have some more improvements to make.
Here's the rule, Dawn. Pay attention, because you're going to use it. Dawn, when emo is on the board, we can return any time that we want to in the game to star emo. That means we're going to return to that square anytime we want, and we're going to work on the behavior, and we're going to change emo into a star. And I think you leave the emos up there for a while. You got 4 or 5 emos, then come back someday and say, all right, look, we can't go to the next level if we're emoing. So go back whenever you want to, change emo into a star, which means an improved behavior, usually in raising your hand for permission to speak. Dawn, explain the power of emo, which is we've never had before, a way to redirect and a way to introduce something negative that doesn't alienate kids. Go, Dawn.
All right, thank you, Coach. So we've reflected on our lesson. We know we have some improvements to make. We pop emo up there. That reminds us and our students that we need to improve. And then once we see those improvements, then we can put the next star on the chart.
Very good. Lakedra, explain how thrilled you are, my dear friend, at the emo possibilities here. Not too many, not too few, but it's like you're shooting a basket and the ball didn't go in. Talk about it, Lakedra.
Thank you, Coach. So yes, this is really a nice upgrade. If we want to redirect some behaviors, we have a way to do it. And once we see that improvement, we can turn emo back into a star. I really, really like that. It's great.
I think you're going to be emoing a few kids here in the upcoming months, Lakedra. I can tell from that smile. You can't wait to emo a few. All right, Annie Blake. Annie, great meeting you face to face in San Bernardino. And Annie, I want you to know that my approval of you, like my approval of everyone else, is completely conditional. So far, I'm feeling good about Annie Blake. Annie, unmute yourself and tell me, Coach, would you please correct the misspelling and tell us about upgrade number 2? Come on, Annie.
Coach, please fix the spelling, thank you, and tell us about upgrade number 2.
Check it out, girl. Now, these are all optional. Annie, you can stay with simple if you want to. But Annie, I know you well enough to think simple is not going to be good enough, especially friends. Hands and eyes again. If you know you've got some lively critters coming in, some beloved rascals, you know you've seen the list and you're kind of worried this summer, I think you add the upgrades as you go. Annie, don't start with the upgrades. Keep them in your back pocket. Keep it a secret and add these as you go. I might go 5 or 10 stars before I even showed the possibility of emo. So explain that the upgrades don't start day 1. They're there over a course of 40 days, Annie. Talk about how to fold in the upgrades. Go, my friend.
So starting simple with just the storyboards, the stars, hold off on the upgrades until you really need them. About week 2 is where most of our behavior comes in. So keep them in your back pocket and pull out those surprises, even with the other upgrades. I'm so excited to start day 1.
Yeah, my friends, listen. Annie's right. Week 2, they know you well enough to act wacky, okay? The new has rubbed off. Now we know where we are and we're feeling kind of loose, and we want to share about our new puppy, and we want to share some more about our new puppy. And look at those plaid shoelaces, my friends. Are they tied right? Yeah, week 2 is when you might start doing the emo routine. But Annie, I'm telling you, girl, do not point out anybody as producing an emo because you'll aggravate them. Annie, stress that point. We are not pointing out negative behavior, but we're fixing negative behavior. Go, girl.
We are not pointing out negative behavior. We're fixing the negative behavior. So pointing it out just emphasizes the behavior and makes them do it again.
Yes.
So we want to redirect.
Annie, I'm so happy with you. I'm still conditionally happy with you. I'm going to show you upgrade number 2. Annie, give me a whoa. Would you please unmute? There goes.
Whoa.
There we go. There's the Alpha Hawk. Now, Annie, everybody listen. You got Wild Jack. We've all got Wild Jack. Wild Jack for the first week of school has been blurting out, blurting out, blurting out. And Wild Jack in week 2 raises his hand for permission to speak, stop the game, put an Alpha Hawk on the board, which stands for a starry. But every Friday, Annie, kids gather around the starry display and they tell the legend of Jack and Maria and other kids who Alpha Hawked. We're going to mark the most dramatic improvements with an Alpha Hawk symbol. And that gives Jack a chance to be in the spotlight for the right reason. Talk about it, Annie.
So upgrade number 2 is the Alpha Hawk. So when you see Wild Jack actually following a direction or following rules, you're going to stop everything and you're going to put an Alpha Hawk on that board. And on Friday, on Alpha Hawk Friday, we get to point out those that put the Alpha Hawks on the board.
Right. Jay Coughlin, unmute. Jay, you've got the look of a teacher who really wants to be a better teacher, which is the same look I'm seeing on the screen here. Jay, give me a thank you, Coach B, first.
Thank you, Coach B.
Jay, listen to me. The first question is, at what rate are we giving out Starries? And I would say this game has got to last 40 days. We're giving, and we got 100 Starries to give away. We're going to give 3 to 5 Starries per day. But whenever you see that, and you've seen it, Jay, you've seen that breakthrough moment, the time when a kid is turning the corner, instead of saying great, or I really appreciate it, or I really noticed that you did, or giving him a piece of candy, Jay, we don't do that. No, au contraire. You say, Jack, you are becoming a classroom leader. You raised your hand for permission to speak. I'm putting this Alpha Hawk symbol up here, and every Monday, we're all around this display talking about what you and other people did. Jay, talk about how effective it's going to be for Wild Jack to give him the spotlight for not for being a great kid, but for improving in one behavior. But then we remember it all stinking year. Talk about it, Jay.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah.
If I can remember what you said,
Good luck.
I am recovering from vertigo yesterday. So with Jack celebrating that one, the time he turns that corner, as you say, and he starts to do that improvement, you celebrate not, oh, you know, you're finally a good kid. Nope. You have the right behavior and you are on your way to being a class leader. And I'm going to put this Alpha Hawk here just for you because you followed rule number 1.
Very, very good. Now, Susanna is our model classroom girl. Her classroom is a model of a model classroom. But if you look at her face, you see the anxiety, you see the angst on her face because she's got all these displays and graphics and stuff. But Susanna, I want you to add an emote. And I want you to add an Alpha Hawk. Tell me that you're not totally aggravated with your coach. I just can't stop myself, Susanna, from making things better. Talk about it, girl.
Thank you, Coach. I am not totally aggravated with you. Just a little bit aggravated, but I already am going to make those graphics and get them ready. And I'm going to put the name of the student that got that Alpha Hawk because I won't remember when it's review time. So I'm not aggravated, Coach.
Well, you've got at least one person here that likes what you're saying. Caitlin, tune in, unmute, tell Susanna that you and her are on the same team. Go, Caitlin. Yes, we don't hear a single thing that you're saying. That's okay. I'll come back to you. No, not yet. That's all right. All right, here we go. Susanna, tell me how desperately you want to see the next upgrade, because the first 2 have been pretty stinking good. You've got to admit that, Susanna.
Well, thank you, Coach. Yes, I'm desperate. I'm desperate.
All right.
Upgrade 1 and 2 made sense. But what is going to be upgrade number 3?
All right, listen, everybody. Again, hands and eyes and huddle up. My friends, we have one classroom management problem that dwarfs every other classroom management problem in the world. We occasionally have kids who are crying under their seats. We occasionally have kids who are running out of the classroom. We occasionally have kids who are trashing the classroom. But the most widespread, universal, chronic classroom management problem, Ruth's song, you know what it is, but you don't know what it is. I'm telling you what the chronic worst problem is. It's blurting, Ruth. Unmute and say, Coach, how did you know? Talk about it.
Coach, how did you know that my number one problem is blurting?
We did a survey, everybody, of teachers, and we found that the average number of blurts in 15 minutes was 30. That means, Ruth, you're getting a blurt every 30 stinking seconds. And you know what, Ruth? It gets worse as the year goes on. You got kids still blurting on the last day, way more than they were blurting in the problematic second week. Confess it, Ruth. Hands over your heart. Talk about how desperate you are for something on Starries to address blurting. Go.
Thank you, Coach. Yes, I am so desperate for something to address blurties because you're right, it just keeps getting worse.
All right. Now, Annie, unmute. Annie, listen. Cards on the table. We have tried lots of different things to reduce blurting. We've got some anti-blurting games, and they're pretty good. But it hit me the other day, Annie, instead of trying to get kids to blurt less, let's get them to ask questions with raised hands more. That's the key. Explain the breakthrough there, Annie.
Okay, so the breakthrough is we want to get kids to blurt less, and we want them to raise their hand and ask questions more.
All right, now let's look at the next upgrade. The next upgrade, Annie, stay there. The next upgrade is we're going to use colored star. So the green or whatever is improvement in rule 1. The yellow or whatever is improvement in rule 2. And really, Annie, rule 1 and rule 2 is all we need to work on in the first 40 days. I put these others up because the system I'm going to tell you about has 6 stars in it. So Annie, in the first week, just start giving stars and emos and alpha hawks for rule 1. But then rule 2 is where we're hammering in week 2, and we're hammering it in week 3, and we're going back and forth between rule 1 and rule 2 and maybe rule 3, but we're hammering the yellow rule 2 stars. Explain that, Annie. Go.
So day 1, week 1, we're going to start with rule number 1. So that's the green stars. Then as we get to week 2, we're still working on rule 1, but we're building in rule 2, which is raise your hand for permission to speak. We're going to always be building upon rule 1 and rule 2.
All right. Now, Dawn, listen to me. Dawn, you're good. You're one of the best ever, and I mean that sincerely. But Dawn, for you to really improve dramatically in reducing blurting, you've got to give them something that they want to raise their hand about. So I think you say, questions Disneyland, which means I'd like to see you raise your hand and ask questions about Disneyland. Or questions puppies, I'd like to see you raise your hand and ask questions about puppies. Questions Wonder Woman, I'd like you to raise your hand and ask questions about Wonder Woman. Or best of all, questions McGregor, I want you to raise your hand and ask questions, any questions you want about me. So you give them a topic, and when you see improvement in raising their hand for questions, that's time for a yellow star. Dawn, this is how we're going to solve, this is how we're going to reduce the blurting problem dramatically, which is give them something they want to raise their hand and ask questions about. Explain how simple that is and how aggravated you are with your coach that I didn't think it up last year, for Pete's sakes. Go ahead.
All right, thank you, Coach. Yeah, if we want to decrease the blurting, we have to increase the behavior that we're looking for, which is raising our hand for permission to speak. So we need to give them practice opportunities. We'll yell out questions and give them a topic. It could be Disneyland, it could be McGregor, it could be a topic coming up, maybe in a book you're going to read or in a lesson. It could be puppies. And this will give them a chance to practice raising their hand for permission to speak, and then we can award those yellow starries for Rule 2.
Dawn, let me help you out. You know, on your drill team, on your baton twirling drill team,
Yeah.
you talked to me about this so much, and you said, Coach, I still got girls who don't know how to twirl. And I tell them, you're not twirling right, you're not twirling right, you're not twirling right. Dawn, instead of telling them they're not doing it right, give them practice in twirling right. That is going to improve their twirling. If you've got blurting, give them practice in non-blurting, and that will reduce the blurting. Dawn, talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. We need to practice that desired behavior. So if we want them to raise their hand for permission to speak, we need to give them chances to practice raising their hand for permission to speak.
All right, I look at the faces. I see people taking notes. I see people excited. My friends, I'm glad you're taking notes, but listen, these are Google Slides and all the directions are down here in the speaker notes. Give me a whoa, yeah. All right, here we go. Lakedra, I've got another upgrade for you, Lakedra. Tell me how excited you are by the brand new treasure chest. Go.
Oh my goodness, Coach, another upgrade. I'm really excited to see it.
All right, here's what you do. Now remember, everybody, you don't do all of these on day one or week one. You save it towards the end. But Lakedra, you see a kid or a bunch of kids making a dramatic improvement. One option is give them an alpha hawk, but it's nice to have another option. You're going to put a treasure chest up there. And you may put it in the next set, or you may put it way down here. You might even let the kid decide where to put it. Explain the treasure chest, and then I'll tell you what's up with it. Go ahead.
Thank you, Coach. So when you see a kid or a couple of kids drastically improving, you can put a treasure chest on the starry board anywhere you want. Get the kids to do it. And what's next?
All right, now Lakedra, you make a treasure chest card, and all the treasure chest cards are identical. On the other side of some of them, there's a 1. On the other side of some, there's a 2. On the other side of some, there's a 3. On the other side of some, there's 2 dice. On the other side of some, there's 3 dice. So all the treasure chests look the same, but there's different values of dice on the back. So when you flip this treasure chest, nobody knows what the dice roll is going to be. Explain that, Lakedra.
So inside of the treasure chest are dice. Some of them are single dice. Some of them are double dice. There's a triple dice. No one knows until, I'm assuming, you unlock that treasure chest.
Yes. And so let's say you flip this one and it has a 1. That means right now we're rolling the dice. And if the 1 comes up, we get another star. That's the reward. It's intrinsic. If the 2 comes up, we get another star. Oh, but we got a treasure chest that has a 1 and a 2. So it's 2 lucky numbers. And oh my goodness, we almost never see it. We got a triple dice treasure chest. So happy. 1, 2, or 3 will give us the bonus star. Explain. You're right, Lakedra. Explain how there's lucky dice rolls in the treasure chest. Go ahead.
Thank you, Coach. So under these chests are lucky dice rolls. If you roll a 1 and that 1 is up, you get another starry. Sometimes if you roll a 1 and a 2, you get another starry. And oh my goodness, you get 3 lucky numbers and you get a starry. That's really cool.
And I just decided, because I invented the game, under some of the treasure chests, there's an emo. I say about one treasure. Yes, Dawn, talk about it. Dawn, you went cuckoo. Talk about what happens. About one treasure chest in 5 is an emo. Go ahead, Dawn. Talk about it.
Oh my goodness, they are going to be shocked because you're probably going to start with dice. So they're going to assume that there's always dice under there and there's a chance to get starries, and then they're going to throw emo at them. Uncertain reward. That's what it's all about.
So here's what I say, people, and I'm changing this on the fly. You have a bunch of treasure chests, and they all look the same. And you let the most improving kid pick whichever treasure chest you want, and they can put it wherever they want. But about one treasure chest in 5 has an emo, about one treasure chest in 5 has triple dice. They're going to go berserk for the stinking treasure chests in week 3, 4, and 5. Talk about, Dawn, these changes that we're making on the fly with the identical treasure chests. Go.
All right, thank you, Coach. So yeah, we're working in a lot of that intrinsic reward. We don't, and uncertain reward. We don't know what's going to be under these treasure chests, so that just builds that excitement for the game.
All right, now, everybody make my gestures. You've got week 4, week 5, you got a bunch of identical treasure chests. And kids know on the other side of the treasure chest is either emo or dice rolls. You will see beloved rascals sneaking up and turning over the treasure chest and putting it back. You don't scold them. You wait till recess. You change the position of the stinking treasure chest. Ruth, talk about how you don't scold the rascal who sees where it is and then tells his friend, you're not upset. You've got the kid in the game. The kid is so far in the game, he's got to see what's on the other side of that treasure chest that hasn't even been picked yet. Talk about it, Ruth.
Thank you, Coach. So instead of scolding the kid who peeked because he was so excited about this game, we're just going to secretly, when they're out at recess, switch the location of the treasure chests.
Now, Madison, listen to your coach for a change, would you? Madison, everybody in the digital world is saying, you know that Madison is such a tightwad. She never wants to spend money on anything. Isn't that true what everyone's saying about you, Madison?
Yeah, it is.
All right, Madison, listen to me. Loosen up a little bit. I want you to spend some big bucks to make a ultimate super improver display. Here's what we need. Now, we need, and this is, the links are all in the speaker notes down here. Madison, get this 10-frame display. It's on Amazon. It's going to cost you, I think, $15, $16 each. Cut off the numbers, but it comes with 6 different magnetic stars. Yes, it's going to cost you $32, but do it. You can stick it up there, and now you've got the colored stars, and you know what to do with the colored stars. Madison explained how you're going to test who really loves you in your life. They all say, oh, we love you, Madison. We think so much of you. Hit somebody up, grandma or grandpa or uncle or aunt or mom or dad or husband. Hit somebody up for $32 to buy your magnetic starry display. Talk about it, Madison.
All right, thank you, Coach. So I'm going to call my brother and I'm going to say, hey, I need $32. Then I'm going to get on Amazon and I'm going to order this starry 10-frame set. I'm going to cut off the numbers because we don't need those. We're just focused on the 10-frame and the different colored stars that are for the different rules that we're working to improve on.
Now, Madison, stay with me, girl. Stay with me. These dice are very expensive, but they're the best. They're not too squishy. They also have a green, a good color green, a good color red, a good color blue, and a good color yellow, and a couple other bonus colors. I strongly recommend these. They're about $28. You can get some dice that are good size for about 14, but these are dice that are going to be rolling for a long time, and they're a good color. Dawn, have you bought these dice? Can you give it an endorsement for the $28 dice?
Yeah, Thank you, Coach. I can. Those are the exact ones that I have. They're very firm. They're going to last a super long time. So I would recommend them.
All right, Susanna, you are the high-tech girl. Susanna, you're probably going to testify to this. But everybody, I want you to buy a power ring counter. It fits right on your finger, and you can count points with the power ring. They're incredibly cheap. You can get 7 for $8. Susanna, don't talk about it. Just listen to me. This is the hugest deal of all. Listen, people. You take the power ring. You put it on your finger. You see a kid improve, you click. You see another kid improve, you click. You see another kid improve, you click. 5 power ring points equals a starry. That means instead of 100 stars to give away, you've got 500 points to give away like this. Click, 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 click. See, you need lots of stuff to give away. And this quintuples it. Susanna, talk about what a bargain it is to change a 100 starry board into 500 star lines. Go, Susanna.
Well, thank you, Coach, so much. So yes, I already have my power rings, and I'm going to see improvement and click, and I'm going to like click right towards where I saw the improvement. And when we get 5 clicks, we're going to put up a star on our what are we on? On our scoreboard.
No,
No.
on our starries.
Starries. Tell me I'm still cool.
You're still cool.
Thank
All right, my friend, we urge you to go to Teachers Pay Teachers, download Whole Brain Teaching Self-Training. Come back next Saturday. Next Saturday, we're going to talk about the wondrous upgrades for the scoreboard. Oh, see you next time. We're going to stop the recording now.